So glad you can join us. Here's what we have for you this Tuesday. Let's make a deal. Two leaders talk trade and tariffs.
I think they're going to walk away very happy. I think so.
So what did Mark Carney walk away with?
When everything happened, it broke my heart.
You wake up, you check your phone, and check if your family's alive.
Two families mark a dreadful anniversary and the aftermath.
Yankees are done.
Yeah, no mañana, no mañana.
Plus, swinging for a sweep, the Jays bring their brooms to the Bronx.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
You are a transformative president.
He's a world-class leader. He's a man that knows what he wants.
All right, and apparent love-in between leaders as Canada's Prime Minister is welcomed to the White House for high-level talks on trade and tariffs. Now, this was Mark Carney's second trip to the inner sanctum at the invitation of the U.S. president and comes at a time when Donald Trump is threatening new tariffs. CTV's senior political correspondent Mike LeCouture is in the U.S. Capitol. And Mike, at the end of the day, what did Canada come away with?
Not a whole lot, Sandy, just a promise to have more discussions. Dominic LeBlanc, the minister in charge of trade between Canada and the U.S., said that these discussions were a lot more detailed than he's seen in the past, and he believes this does lay the groundwork for possible deals in the future. But certainly, if Canadians are looking at this and thinking that they may have gotten a win today, we haven't gotten one just yet. But Dominic LeBlanc says the discussions will continue, and they could also continue later on tonight.
With a firm but friendly handshake, Prime Minister Mark Carney arrived at the White House for his working lunch with U.S. President Donald Trump.
We're going to be talking about trade. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things.
In a 32-minute Oval Office meeting, Trump called Carney a great man several times, adding he's confident they'd work through the issues preventing a deal on tariffs.
He's a world-class leader. He's a man that knows what he wants. And I'm not surprised to see that he won the election and won it substantially. And I would think he's more popular now. He's a good man. He does a great job, and he's a tough negotiator.
If he's a great man and you want to do a deal with Canada, why aren't you?
Because I want to be a great man, too.
Trump says the two countries are in a natural business conflict because Canada and the U.S. want to make similar things on both sides of the border.
It's a tough situation because we want to make our cars here. At the same time, we want Canada to do well making cars. So we're working on formulas, and I think we'll get there.
Carney said the two countries are competing, not in conflict.
We are the largest foreign investor in the United States. $500 billion in the last 5 years alone, probably $8 trillion in the next 5 years if we get the agreement that we expect to get.
Following the meeting, the minister in charge of Canada-U.S. trade updated reporters on how it went.
It concluded with the president and the prime minister directing us, me and my colleagues and the president, his cabinet secretaries who were there, Ambassador Greer, Secretary Lutnick, and others, to continue the conversation and to quickly land deals that will bring, we think, greater certainty in areas where the principal areas would be steel and aluminum and energy.
Now, inside the Oval Office, U.S. President Donald Trump said he's open to renewing the trilateral trade agreement known as USMCA. But Sandy, he also said that he could do a separate deal with Canada on its own.
Okay, Mike, thanks so much. Let's bring in CTV's chief political correspondent, Vassy Kapelas. Okay, Vassy, the two men certainly seemed to get along, and Donald Trump said that the delegation would leave discussions today very happy. It does appear that's the case. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think there's two sort of separate ways to look at it. From a tonal perspective, certainly we heard that from the minister during Mike's piece and in the conversation that you highlighted when the president alluded to, Canada walking away more happy. It sounds like they are more optimistic about the possibility of an agreement. That's, I think, the charitable version of how we can interpret what happened. The less charitable version is we did not hear anything of substance from the minister about something tangible that could make Canadians happy. And by that, I mean a sincere reduction reduction or elimination of tariffs on some of the sectors that those tariffs are in place right now, or a broad-based agreement on any other host of subjects that both the Prime Minister and the Minister referenced, like defense and security or the economy more broadly. So I think there's two different versions of how you can interpret today, but I can say for certain I have not seen any evidence at this point, at least, of something tangible.
Right. So, Vashi, what was today all about?
Well, I wish I could tell you for certain, Sandy. I think what's interesting is, and Mike had a great, difficult question for the minister, like the staff in and around the people on this file were telegraphing that there would be movement on steel and aluminum. And not to say it still might happen this evening or into tomorrow, sure, but that's what they were telegraphing. The minister fought that characterization and said, well, you know, on the public record, I said basically the expectations were not that high. So I don't know if they really were able to manage those expectations. I think the pressure was certainly on to come back with something tangible, and as of yet, we don't see it.
Okay. As always, Vashi, thank you so much. Now, Donald Trump's peace plan is the focus of indirect talks between Israel and Hamas on this second day of negotiations taking place in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt.
We are going to do everything possible. We have a lot of power, and we're going to do everything possible to make sure everybody adheres to the deal.
Donald Trump says if there is a peace deal, the U.S. will help keep it in place.
קיבוץ, המושב והעיירה.
A sea of mourners as Israelis gathered for a commemoration ceremony in Tel Aviv tonight to remember those lost exactly 2 years ago today. A grim anniversary marking the October 7th massacre by Hamas terrorists. And while talks offer some hope for the release of the remaining hostages and an end to the war in Gaza, no one can forget the deadliest attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust. The sun rose this morning over the site of the Nova Music Festival, where hundreds were murdered. Visitors gathered, walking among the rows and rows of posts with photographs of the victims.
She's my heart, and they took it from me. I can never be happy, complete, ever again.
More than 1,200 people were killed by Hamas terrorists. More than 250 were taken hostage. Their families gathered today calling for the release of those who remain captive. Well, today over Gaza, smoke was seen in the air over a humanitarian disaster on the ground. This man says every day there is hunger, destruction, and death. The Hamas-run health ministry says 67,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israel's military campaign that followed the deadly attack, with much of Gaza's population left homeless and hungry. Now, the families of the 7 Canadians killed in cold blood have vowed never to forget them. The terror of that day and events since still resonate with both Jewish and Muslim communities. CTV's Heather Wright spoke to 2 families about how life has changed since that horrible day. Heather.
Well, Sandy, today is certainly a difficult day for people in Israel, in Gaza, and for many here in Canada.
For many, there is a before October 7th, 2023, and an after. 731 days since life changed forever.
I couldn't do anything physically. I was broken.
Rayut Kadar grew up on a kibbutz in Israel and moved with her family to Canada 7 years ago.
Peace was a big part of my life growing up, and talking about peace and learning Arabic at school, and like talking about sharing future. And I don't know that that's something that will happen when I get to see it.
Her family has experienced anti-Semitism since the war in Gaza began. A swastika was drawn on her son's computer at school, and her family tries to avoid speaking Hebrew in public.
Why does people associate me with the Israeli government? All of my Israeli friends who live in Toronto, none of them support the government.
For Nora Sharab, each day begins preparing for the worst.
Every single day you wake up, you check your phone and check if your family's alive.
Sharab lives in Mississauga, but has aunts, uncles, and cousins in Gaza. Last week, she says 12 relatives were killed while waiting for food.
They were standing in line and they were attacked.
Leaders are meeting in Egypt this week, negotiating the terms of a possible ceasefire. Sharab says the plan put forward by U.S. President Donald Trump isn't perfect, but it's something.
The first thing that is at the top priority for anybody in Gaza right now is the stopping of the bombs that is raining down on them. The fact that they don't know when the next safe space is going to be.
As part of these ceasefire talks, Hamas has said it is willing to release all remaining hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. But there are other parts of the American deal that could be non-starters. Israel has said it will not end the war in Gaza unless Hamas disarms, something the terror group may be unlikely to agree to. Sandy.
Okay, CTV's Heather Wright. The anniversary of the October 7th attacks led a Canadian university to shut down over a protest today. Concordia University closed its Montreal campus over protests near the school. Thousands gathered in support of Palestinians and a separate smaller group in support of Israel. The university's president said classes were canceled as a safety measure after 2 people were arrested at a campus demonstration yesterday. Well, 2 people behind the protests that overwhelmed Canada's capital 3 years ago have been given 18-month conditional sentences. Freedom Convoy leaders Tamara Lich and Chris Barber were convicted of mischief for their roles in the movement. CTV's Judy Trin takes a closer look at the judge's message. Hi, Judy.
Sandy, more than 150 supporters packed the courtroom and they erupted in applause when the judge announced that Leach and Barber would not face any more jail time. Already convicted of mischief, Tamara Lich and Chris Barber, the 2 main leaders of the Freedom Convoy, arrived to hear their fate. Lawrence, what do you think will happen today? What are you hoping for?
Hoping that Tamara doesn't go to jail.
A supporter was arrested before the judge even handed down her sentence. The trial has revealed schisms in society over vaccine mandates, but Justice Heather Perkins McVeigh said it did not factor into her decision. Politics has no place in this court and plays no role in the determination of what is a fair, just, and appropriate sentence, she said. For their role as organizers in the 3-week occupation of downtown Ottawa in 2022, both Barber and Leach were given conditional sentences of 18 months. It includes 1 year under house arrest and a curfew after that. Barber helped coordinate the movement of trucks. His lawyer says he won't appeal.
It was a lawful protest. She found that it turned into unlawful because of the blockage of the streets.
The judge took into account more than $55 million in police costs and the lost revenue for businesses, as well as the disruption of community services. But the court also acknowledged that both Barber and Leach did try to limit the footprint of the convoy. Leach had already spent 49 days in jail.
There were many people in the downtown core and businesses that were affected by the Freedom Convoy. She doesn't deny that. The question of was there remorse for what she did? No.
Leach's lawyer says they're considering appealing her mischief conviction. Meanwhile, both Tamara Lich and Chris Barber both face a civil lawsuit. Sandy.
All right, CTV's Judy Trin. Well, a fight is brewing between premiers. BC's David Eby has slammed Alberta's push for a new oil pipeline to Canada's west coast, something Danielle Smith called un-Canadian. Yesterday, Smith spoke to the Prime Minister about the project before he left for Washington. CTV's Rachel Ayala now on the spat while awaiting Mark Carney's response to the pipeline proposal. Rachel.
Sandy, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith came to Ottawa today looking to build relationships. Facing pushback from BC over her pitch for a new West Coast pipeline, she says she secured assurances from Prime Minister Mark Carney that he'll have an answer to her proposal within weeks. Alberta's Premier brought her push for a new pipeline to Parliament Hill today.
All it takes is the Prime Minister to say yes, and so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get to that by mid-November.
Danielle Smith wants a bitumen pipeline from Alberta to British Columbia's west coast greenlit. But BC Premier David Eby has come out hard against the major project proposal, calling it a political creation that would put jobs and the coastline at risk. Today, Smith shot back.
I think Premier Eby's comments are un-Canadian and they're unconstitutional.
Eby then responded.
It's not the Danielle Smith show, it's the Canadian team. And we all deserve the same opportunity for the same federal funding for our projects as she does for hers. That's not un-Canadian.
Alberta's premier said that in her brief meeting with Carney yesterday, he committed to getting back to her by mid-next month about the pipeline and Alberta carbon capture project and whether the Liberals are ready to repeal certain environmental policies. Today, the Liberals touted their approach.
What we're seeing is a number of premiers, conservative premiers, very excited about our goals to make Canada an energy superpower.
While in the nation's capital, Premier Smith also met with federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre and his caucus. Sandy?
All right, Rachel, thank you. Coming up after the break, unwanted reinforcements.
Illegal, unconstitutional, it's dangerous.
The clash in the courts. When the U.S. president isn't talking trade, he's talking troops. And today, National Guard troops from Texas arrived in the Chicago area despite efforts by the state of Illinois to stop them. And Donald Trump is threatening to use the centuries-old Insurrection Act to deploy troops to other cities. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malvin is with us. Okay, Joy, a showdown in the streets, also in the courts. But through it all, it looks like Donald Trump is sticking to his guns, right?
Yeah, Sandy, the president is not backing down on those threats, calling the democratically run cities like Portland and Chicago hellholes of crime. This after weekend protests at immigration facilities there. Now, the Texas National Guard, as you said, have begun arriving at a military training center in Illinois against the wishes of the governor and the mayor, who call it government overreach. But once again, Donald Trump said he would invoke the Insurrection Act that was last used by President George W. Bush in the L.A. riots. Have a listen.
Yeah, well, it's been invoked before, as you know. If you look at Chicago, Chicago's a great city where there's a lot of crime. And if the governor can't do the job, we'll do the job. It's all very simple.
All right, Joy. Meantime, Donald Trump's top law official, was grilled in Congress on that same topic. How did Pam Bondi defend her government's actions?
Oh, yeah, some fiery testimony from the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. She was grilled by Democratic senators. Dick Durbin wanted to know, what is the legal rationale for sending National Guard troops to Chicago? And Bondi, she punched back. Have a listen.
I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
The Attorney General dodged questions on immigration raids, investigations into Trump's perceived political enemies, even on the Jeffrey Epstein files. Sandy?
Okay, Joy in Washington. Thank you, Joy. Still ahead, the Jays are on deck, hoping to knock off New York.
We're coming down for the World Series, Mr. President.
All right, well, Prime Minister Mark Carney chiming in on another high-stakes showdown south of the border, not trade or tariffs this time, but the Toronto Blue Jays. The team is in New York, hoping to move on to the American League Championship Series with a win tonight. And CTV's Sean Leathong is inside Yankee Stadium. Okay, Sean, a lot on the line for the Jays tonight. Talk to us about the atmosphere in and around the stadium.
Well, outside of Yankee Stadium this morning, Sandy, it was nervous energy from Yankees fans, many of them taking the time to roll down their car windows and let us know who they were supporting as early as 7:15 this morning. Inside the stadium right now, it's all business. You can see the New York Yankees working out behind us. They've been here for probably a last 15 or 20 minutes. Now, we know they're down 0-2 in the series to the Toronto Blue Jays, but they are coming home to the most famous stadium in baseball. The Blue Jays themselves, they had batting practice for just a few players called early hitting just a few minutes ago, about an hour ago, in fact. And it's funny because some of the Blue Jays players like Davis Schneider and Addison Barger, when they came out of the Blue Jays dugout, they were bringing a Bluetooth speaker with them and they were blasting Taylor Swift's Welcome to New York before they started having a little bit of batting practice. So they're having fun and they're calm and collected ahead of what is a very big Game 3, Sandy.
Yeah, and at the same time, Sean, they don't have the same massive fan base in New York cheering them on than they would here at home. So, you know, what are the fans that are there telling you about this matchup?
We have found some Blue Jays fans, Sandy, and we know that this is Canada's team. So there was a few guys from northern Alberta we talked to today, and I love the stories where they bought tickets. They got a plane ride down from Minnesota and hopped to New York City as soon as they possibly could. Nova Scotia as well, but one little fan is wearing a Yankees hat, even though he's a Jays fan, because he's afraid of what's going to be like in here, Sandy.
I say it isn't so. Okay, Sean, thanks so much. Coming up, the fight to save a Canadian's work of art. A statue designed by Quebec artist and provocateur Armand Vaillancourt has been on display in San Francisco for years, but now its position is in peril. The city wants to get rid of it, and that's a decision its colorful creator is fighting. CTV's Geneviève Beauchemin now on the artwork and the acrimony. Hi, Geneviève.
Yes, Andy, Armand Vaillancourt has a long list of public works to his credit, including this one here on Mount Royal. But he's fighting for one right now in San Francisco. Armand Vaillancourt's archives are a treasure trove.
1997.
Filled with stories of the colorful Quebec artist's life of creativity and controversy lived on the world stage.
I did 3 times the Times magazine, yeah.
But now at the age of 96, one file is always on his mind.
It has been a witness.
He's fighting to save the monumental Vaillancourt fountain, unveiled in 1971 in San Francisco, now slated for potential demolition.
I'm not there to please nobody.
The fountain, a brutalist work of art, has long divided onlookers and city officials. Vaillancourt's support of Indigenous protesters in the late 1960s sparked controversy, and he was left off the fountain inauguration guest list, but he showed up anyway.
He entered the water and wrote Québec Libre on his own work.
In 1987, U2's Bono graffitied the structure during a concert. And the fountain survived the devastating 1989 earthquake, becoming a cultural landmark and also a skateboarding mecca, featured in a Tony Hawk video game, and that lends its name to a Nike shoe. Now, San Francisco's Art Commission says it's a structurally unsound, hazardous structure which would require multi-million-dollar renovation in order to bring the fountain up to current health and safety standards. Vaillancourt, his son Alexis, and supporters in the arts world dispute the assessment, calling it political, but also say the fountain is worth saving.
If you erase a kind of monument like that, you erase a part of the history.
What is the strongest argument that you made to keep the fountain?
It deserved to have a long life again.
There was a public meeting in San Francisco last night where there was a lot of talk about the fountain, but the city says the final decision has not been made yet. Sandy.
All right, Jen, thanks so much for this. CTV's Geneviève Beauchemin. And thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Your local CTV News is coming up. We'll see you tomorrow, we hope. Bye for now.